So this is a short video about how OneStaff back office deals effectively with the different VMS considerations necessary to make an effective pay bill, to do receipting, obviously manage your typically high volume, low margin assignments, and deal effectively with the diversity out there in terms of different time file formats from different VMS systems. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by using the OneStaff electronic time file import service. There's a variety of different ways we can get time in. This is just one of them. And what we can do is we can pick a file. So what we'll do is we'll pick a file up here. So this has been either downloaded from the different VMS system or sent by the customer or the VMS. And so we know that there's a lot of diversity depending on the different VMS systems and customer needs. And you can see here that what we can do is associate this file with different import ID. That different import ID holds the configuration for that particular file type. So you can see here we've got a variety of different import IDs. I'm using the Pipe VMS, but it could be Kronos, IQN, Beeline, whatever it might be. We can set this up. It's very easily configurable. We just need one example of the file. For instance, we could determine what we're expecting in that, and it will pick that information up, and it can either be pre-calculated amounts, or for instance we can do the calculation itself. And you can see that we're also importing, in this particular case, the VMS number, a VMS date, and potentially a VMS amount. So what I'm going to do here is import directly into a OneStaff back office. I'll just process this, and 12 rows have been processed. The batch has been created. So if I go into Microsoft Dynamics GP, and this is where OneStaff back office resides, it's a seamless part of the Microsoft platform. And this is where all the time comes in. So it doesn't matter if people are doing online mobile entry, or for instance we're processing the different VMS files, or they're being swept in through our XML import service. All the time comes in collectively here, where we can process it for an effective pay bill process. So if we look at the batch file from within Microsoft Dynamics GP and back office, then we can see that tracking number. We can see that data has already been processed, ready for billing, ready for payment. So here we are in timesheet entry, and what I should be able to do is find that batch file. There it is, 12 transactions. Just drill down to this. And importantly, all the pay bill calculations have been done here. Overtime hasn't been processed if that was necessary. It could be either sourced in the data in, or it could be calculated by OneStaff. If I just drill down to any one of these timesheets that have come in, there's field tech, regular pay, and there is the VMS number. So again, just to kind of prove that we're kind of tracking it from the outset, it's stamped on the time transaction, and then we can use it for the respective downstream pay bill processes and the receipting process, because when we receive the money we can match against this. There are a number of other things we can do as well. If I look at a smart list, and a smart list is a very useful tool within Dynamics. What this allows me to do is monitor or watch the timesheets in this respect for this particular account, and you can see I'm tracking the VMS number immediately here, so it's visible on this. And from here I can go and drill to any of the information around this particular timesheet. I could inquire on the timesheet, I could drill to physical document if there was one. I could view any invoices that have been generated or revenue recognition around it. I could go to the customer, I could look at the actual job or placement associated with this, and if I drill down to that temporary placement inventory, you can see this is the job card for this particular account, and you can see that there is an invoice frequency VMS weekly and an invoice format VMS internal. So rather than generate an invoice that's going to be sent out to the customer, obviously the VMS system calculates that, then we have an internal document that kicks off and an invoice frequency which matches the expected receipt and revenue from the VMS system here, and that's associated with this particular job card. We also, in this particular case, are tracking associated surcharge or fee of 2.5% associated with that VMS system. So if I drill down to that, You can see 2.5% the VMS fee, and it's going to this particular expense account. And there's a variety of different ways that we could get that calculated: fee plus tax minus discount times VMS percentage, and so on. So all that will be calculated on the way through for me, which means that ultimately when I receive the cash or payment from the customer, that I can make an effective match. So these can be defined job by job, but they can also be pulled down as a default based on the customer. Now, there are a number of other steps that would occur. One of them is to recognize the revenue. So I'm just going to do that. I am on timesheet invoicing. We don't want to print or generate the invoice and send that to the customer. Like I said, that's going to be generated by the VMS system. But you can see here what we can do is we can process all our timesheets, all frequencies and all formats for specific date ranges, and filter them by customer and so on. So you can see here I've got some different frequencies based on VMS, but I also have that format that I said, the VMS internal. Okay, so I could process everything, but just to kind of demonstrate the capability around VMS, I'm just going to select these and I'm going to mark the accounts. And you can see it's identified a couple of accounts where these specific selections agree, and what I can do is pre-invoice. So I'm going to take all my VMS business accounts based on those frequencies and formats, and it's going to generate the associated documentation. And you can see this is using the VMS internal format only, so it won't be issued to the client. And again, I'm tracking the VMS number. It's present here. I can see it. I can see the date. This is the amount that's calculated, and it's done so for each one of the accounts or customers where that format and frequency is the default for the account. So what I could do is commit this, and what it would do is generate the associated transactions and revenue recognition. But importantly, it would also use that VMS number to make it available on the accounts receivable, so that when we receive the cash, we can do an effective match. Remember, it is calculating also the surcharge. So if there is any surcharge or fee associated with that, we're going to see the correct amount in the receivables account. So I'm just going to cancel that for the moment. And let's have a look at it from a cash receipting viewpoint. So here we are in a cash receipts entry, and what I could do is pick one of the accounts that I know, for instance, is a VMS account, and I'll just make up a fictional amount, say 5,000, and we'll just do an apply. And in the apply, here's the account. You can see there's a few transactions that are outstanding. Now, there could be many on some of these accounts, and the breakout basically is determined, for instance, by how we do the revenue recognition. So the splits, making it match, for instance, the expected receipts will already be part of what you'd see in here, but we obviously need to find the corresponding VMS that we have on our payment receipt with the transaction here, and you can see that I have a find, and on the find we have VMS number. So we could search by temp, or we could search by VMS number. So for instance, if I had 1,000 transactions in there and I put my VMS number in, remember, we tracked it all the way through from the time entry, I would be able to find it and make my match. And that is a significant amount of pain for a lot of different businesses. So again, you've seen us take everything from the time, process that in, we've done an effective revenue recognition, we've accounted for any fees or surcharges, and then we've come straight through and we've been able to do a match in our accounts receivable. And one thing I want to show you here as well is we can track that all again basically in the different smart lists. So here we've got a smart list. I've determined what columns that I want on this smart list. You can see I've got VMS number here, and it's a column here. So if I ever want to sort or drill down to transactions, there it is. So it's there from a reporting viewpoint as well. And this particular smart list is tracking this account the payable amount, the fees associated with it, any specific invoices, in this particular case, any vouchers associated with any AP accounts, for instance, 1099s and so on, or any employee accounts. So a very powerful way of getting complete visibility on this account. And as I said, you could drill down to any of the details, including the customer, the receivables documents, the general inquiry, general ledger inquiry, the payroll transactions, and so on. So that's probably worthy of another sort of video, but hopefully this has given you an idea of how you can effectively manage your VMS transactions, reduce the overhead, because this is effectively a high volume, low margin type of business. So what we need to do is have streamlined processes, and this allows you to do it. That's OneStaff in action. Thank you.